Okay, guys. So, good old Colton,
Young
cousin
Buck.
Jeffro, Young Buck, and Pops and I decided that we wanted to put in our opinions and ideas of this fight. I know it's like kind of a big argument whether it's stopped, whether it was too early or whatever. But we want to watch it. We're going to watch the knockout here, and we're going to give our opinions. So what do you guys got anything else to say about this at all?
One thing I do want to add is, like, if you guys ever looked at our actual channel description, you'll see that I have the link to, we have another channel where we actually, like, box and fight. And Zippy the Canoe, the guy
right here,
he actually fought today in an MMA match. So we got him on here to comment on this as well, and he had a pretty good match. So if you want to go over and check that out, feel free. Check out the fight. And so we're all fight fans, though, is basically the point. So.
Yep.
Big time.
So, you guys ready to hop right in?
Let's do it.
Let's go and get in. And that's it.
That's it. Oh.
We'll leave it right there on Sean's back. All right. Which one of you would like to start?
Okay. I just want to say I'm a Sean O'Malley fan. Like, I've been watching him since he was on the Contender Series. You know, when one of my favorite moments in UFC period is watching him beat this dude while Uriah Faber and Snoop Dogg are sitting there just, O'Malley!
They call him Lil Dicky.
Yeah, like, and where Snoop Dogg was talking about take the booty position.
Yeah, that was so good.
So I've been a Sean O'Malley fan for a long time. Aljo, I think Aljo gets a lot of flack for how he won the belt in the first place because Peter Yan, who really isn't a dirty fighter typically, Aljo was on one knee and he caught him with the knee, and that was an illegal strike because Aljo was down, and they say you can't hit somebody when their knees are down on the mat. So he lost that fight, and Aljo got the belt. And ever since then, every time Aljo fights somebody, they come up with the reason that he's not a legit champion. So I like Aljo because despite that, he's fought who he's fought. He's won every fight except until O'Malley.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you see in these fights, these guys will sit there and just run each other down. Like, they're still talking about how they're going to beat each other. Like, they're going to beat each other up. This is fights. But both of them had respect for each other. They didn't, like, go personal. And Aljo, unlike Colby Covington, when he gets beat, this dude's still running his mouth. This dude gave Sean O'Malley all the props in the world, but he wanted the rematch. So I thought this was a great fight. I mean, the first round was not really much. I think the biggest thing for me is Sean O'Malley didn't even get his train for how he was going to deal with takedowns for 6 weeks because he had a cracked rib. But if you watch in the first round, this dude's going side to side the whole time. Like, he is preparing to not allow him to have that. And they even talked about how he was waiting for his moment, because you can say what you want about Sean O'Malley, but he's got those hands. You leave him one shot and it's over. And literally what happens? Aljo extends, perfect, right hand, bam.
He's so fast and long. It's just...
And my thing is like, I disagree if anybody says it should have stopped after the first one, because it was a nice hit, but Aljo wasn't out yet. Like, you got to keep the fight going.
I don't think anyone was saying that it was stopped too.
Yes, they are. I've seen a lot of people saying that the fight was
that's
stopped
the
too
big
early.
controversy right now.
Oh, there are people all over the place.
Not too early, but not too late, though. You're saying that people are saying that as soon as he landed the first one.
That shouldn't have called it at all.
I think until he gets to the point where he's rolling over and he's still getting the punches, I think you had a legit reason to keep the fight going. But everyone knows when you get to that position and you're still hitting them, they're going to call that typically. They're going to. By the way they do that, that's how they do it. So for me, I think that was the perfect time to call the fight. I've seen fights where I felt like they let it go too long, and I've seen fights where they feel like they didn't let it go on long enough. But that one, I think that was a good call.
I do too. I mean, he was on Cruise Street. I mean, no doubt about it. And so he was trying to survive, and he is a wrestler. So you could say that maybe he could, he did like an ankle pick from down there. Maybe, I mean, you could sit and argue that, that stuff, back and forth all day. But he was definitely hurt, and we're kind of in the age of kind of protecting the fighters. We know about CTE now. He already ate the punch. He already ate a few after it, and like I think it was just going to get worse for him. So I think the stoppage is right on point.
And after even the first couple shots, Aljo's still spinning. Like, he's still got his guard up.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing a good job of protecting himself, so there's no reason to stop it. But once he hits that nasty shot right before he turns over, I think that was the end.
Yeah.
So what do you guys got to say?
See, the only reason why I feel like it should have been stopped just a tiny bit sooner was because, I mean, yeah, he was blocking them, but he wasn't returning any. I feel like after a couple unanswered ones, you know.
I feel like, though, in this particular case, you got to remember that this is a championship fight.
Yeah, that's true.
If this was like at your local, whatever show or whatever, I would probably agree. Or maybe even like a lower tier guy.
Yeah.
But this is to change it.
This is like an actual champion. You got to give that champion a chance. So there's no... there's basically no doubt. Like he doesn't need to be, dead laying on the floor, but like he needs to understand. Like even like him himself, he needs to understand, and the people need to understand. Like he really truly got whooped. He wasn't going to come back. Nope. Now there might be some people out there that are Aljo fans that would be like, well, he's still. I mean, we could argue that back and forth.
Oh yeah,
but like
I
think
he was. Yeah, I think he was.
No.
He was whooped. That was it. It was only going to get
definitely
worse.
going to lose. Regardless.
Well, and I think everyone thought it was only a matter of time once he went down from the initial strike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because Sean's really good at, like, he stood up most of the time, but he has that long reach, so he's going to get those punches in.
Oh, yeah.
And
this is early in the round.
Yeah.
If there was like 20 seconds left in the round, you might be
they'll probably let it go.
Yeah.
But this was early, and he ate two nasty shots.
Yeah.
The initial strike and then that last one right before he turns over and went prone.
Oh, yeah.
Those two shots, I mean... I get what you're saying because he wasn't returning strikes.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about a knockout, you're talking about somebody who literally has been to the point where they can't function at a normal level.
Yeah.
And he was still in his guard at that point.
Yeah.
And he ate a couple shots, but they weren't anything that were stopping him from his guard. But when he got that last shot in, he rolls over and then he gets a couple more.
Yeah.
It was clear it was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Some people, and that's not a terrible point. I think it depends on where you view what a knockout is.
Yeah.
Because some people on the internet are like, well, that first shot, he should have been done.
No, that first shot, no.
Listen, if you've watched enough UFC, guys eat some punches sometimes.
Yeah.
And they'll come back.
Yeah.
They'll come back.
So what about you, Young Lion? We've all talked.
I completely agree. I think the fight was stopped at the correct time.
I do too.
I don't think it should have ended after that first punch. They're absolutely stupid if you're thinking that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Colton has a good point as far as maybe a little earlier, but like Pop said, championship fight. You got to give these guys their time to shine, and obviously he was the champ, so he had to, you have to give him an extra minute to see if he could do it. And then, like Uncle Jeffro here said, he took that last shot, rolled over, and he had a few more. As soon as that last shot landed, that he should have. Obviously, he was probably coming over.
Yeah.
In that moment, but nonetheless,
well, you even heard all of us, even though we've all seen the fight before. We still were like, "Oh,
yeah."
It's
that
last
one of those
shot
things.
is
Every time I
nasty
see it, it's just
it was. I think
notion.
And I personally love that full counter right there.
Mm-hmm.
That is so clean and smooth. Sean O'Malley is 100% a monster.
And I've been a Sean O'Malley fan for years. A lot of people don't like him because of the colorful hair and the tattoos and all that. But you can say what you want to say, pound for pound, one of the best strikers in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's got one of those, like, you give him one shot and he has the knockout ability to immediately end a fight. I mean, if you go back and look through some of the clips, I mean, there's one punch sometimes and it's over. Mm-hmm. That's all he has.
And I feel like it's both hands, too.
Yeah.
Now,
that's pretty impressive.
You guys, as far as I know, for people watching, like, you guys are all three Sean O'Malley fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big Sean O'Malley fan. Yeah. So, what appeals to you about Sean O'Malley? Is it actually his actual fighting, or the whole gimmick thing, his whole personality, shit? What appeals to Sean O'Malley to you guys?
For me, number one, like, I wouldn't be a fan of him if he wasn't good at what he did.
Yeah.
And you can, again, say what you want to say. When you're talking about the guys with the capability to change the whole fight with one punch, Sean O'Malley should be right there at your tops. And if you don't like him for anything else, That's fine. Everyone has their preferences. But if you're literally a fight fan, look what he did to Aljo.
Oh, yeah.
Aljo is not somebody who gets knocked out a lot.
Mm-mm.
And he made him beat the brakes off of him for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You know? The care and stuff, like, I like people who express themselves. I think it's a generational thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some people like more conventional fighters who are going in there saying what they got to say, not really like the colorful stuff, the tattoos, the, you know, running your mouth a lot. Because Sean O'Malley's a trash talker. Yeah. I mean, really, if you're in UFC, you're going to trash talk.
Yeah.
But despite all the trash talking, I said this earlier, Sean is not like a Colby Covington or a Conor McGregor where they're just talking nonstop. Yeah. They can't even be humble enough to be like, I got beat, I got exposed. Now they're still running their mouths, talking about people's wives and kids and like just off the wall stuff that if we're talking real life, you're actually going to get beat down. Like, this ain't a UFC fight.
Yeah. Well, Colby Covington got jumped. By Masvidal, allegedly.
Wish he would have done more than that.
Right.
So that's my take. I like Sean O'Malley, but it mostly is his fighting.
Yeah.
And how, like...
See, I think, like what you said, I think you nailed it right off the bat when you said it was a generational thing. Because, like, I'm almost 50. You guys are all younger. Yeah. I'm not super into this dude, and you guys all are. And I do think age... Like, I've been watching fights since before you guys were even, like, born.
Real quick. Part of the reason why I'm into fights is because we used to watch the early UFC fights.
Yeah.
Before you guys were sparring, I used to spar with him when I wrestled all the time.
Yeah.
Didn't I?
Yeah, so we've always been into all this for forever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you guys, what do you guys the appeal for Sean?
So, when I first got into UFC, it was right around like 2015, 2016, you know, right around like prime Conor McGregor stuff. So, I was so used to just watching Conor McGregor, you know, his striking and stuff. And
that was towards the end of Silva, too, where Silva was starting to decline a little bit.
Yeah. And I feel like Sean O'Malley, while he is his own thing, I feel like he's almost like the new Conor McGregor in the fact that he's good, he's beating the guys, you know, he's beating the best in his weight class, and you know, he's just so fast and like he's unpredictable because you don't know if he's gonna throw a spinning leg kick or if he's gonna throw a right hand or if he's just gonna, you know, feint and like fake you out. Like there's like when you watch a Sean O'Malley fight, at least for me, I'm always on the edge of my seat because I don't know what is going to happen next.
Like I said, one punch.
Yeah.
And I think that you actually said something that kind of fits because you were mentioning Conor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that will say that Sean O'Malley is a Dana White guy. Where
I feel like if you're a good fighter, you're going to be a Dana White guy regardless.
Well, what I'm saying is they call it the Dana White privilege. Where like Conor got heavy pushes and it almost seemed like sometimes he got away with stuff that other guys didn't because he's
like
the big draw
situation and all that.
Yeah, like the whole thing with the tour bus.
Yeah. Sure.
And people say that Sean got a chance too quickly because there are people who still believe that the Jan O'Malley fight, that Jan won.
So I feel like that could have gone either way.
It was close for me, but if you're looking at the actual scores from what I saw, do you value strikes more or do you value takedowns more? Because the way I always talked it was like true strikes mean more than a takedown.
Yeah.
Because you're actually doing damage to their body where a takedown, takedown gives you points.
It would depend. Yeah. It would depend. Like when you take someone down, do you do anything with it? You can't give someone a bunch of credit or points if they just take a guy down.
Or if they're stalling in its arm position.
You can't lay on it. Like if you're working to a better position or you're inflicting damage, that's different.
Yeah, if your body's shot and you're throwing elbows.
Yeah, like, we went through that whole stage where like these wrestlers, they just want to take, everyone knows that lay and pray. So they would just take a guy down, they're laying on him like a wet blanket.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, man, that ain't fighting. Like if you're actually, the whole point of taking him down is so that you can hurt him. So if you can't hurt him, you just lay there.
You
don't get any points. Yeah, you don't get points for just laying on a guy.
Yeah.
So let me start out by saying that I'm not one of those people that watches like every single press interview or anything like that. I mainly judge a fighter strictly off them fighting,
which is fair.
That'd be a good.
As pretty much everybody here has already stated, dude's a powerhouse. He's a mitochondria.
He's scientific with
Dude gets out there and he's like
the missing link.
Do you want the smoke? Because here it is. And like I said earlier, dude can do it with both hands.
Yeah.
He's not just, oh, watch out for his right. No, it's both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those legs,
he's got whips for legs.
Yeah, we've seen a couple times where if a dude hadn't ducked that kick, he would have did Leon Edwards to Kamaru style.
Yeah,
where Leon Edwards caught him with that leg kick, and it was all she wrote.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's mainly what I want to throw in is that I don't really watch the press interview. I know he's kind of like more of a cocky guy, like McGregor. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I like him for his fighting. That is why I like him.
Fair.
I mean, for me, like, I'm not super in, which in the age we're in now, and of course I'm an old dude, so it would only make sense that I'm not super into. I didn't like Conor McGregor from the get go. Everyone I used to work with dudes, and they all like Conor McGregor. A lot of it also has to do with like color, like he's a white dude, and he's good, so white, like a Don King in boxing used to say, white equals green. You know what I mean? If you got like a white dude that's good, they tend to, do good pay-per-views. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Conor, he definitely did have an easier path to get there, but he still had to beat the guys that were in front of him. So you got to give
that Aldo fight. I mean, there was no
yeah.
doubt.
Yeah, I actually thought it was going to be a good fight. So
yeah,
I actually thought the Eddie Alvarez fight was going to be a good fight. So
in my opinion, Aldo's the bantamweight GOAT. And
I agree.
McGregor to beat him,
he just had most of his career that wasn't in UFC.
Yeah,
people don't know that.
I think for UFC, you're going to have to honestly argue Aljo.
Yeah, Aljo and Aldo. Yeah.
So, but like, the point I was getting at though, I'm not like, I don't. Even though we're in this age now, I'm just not into like gimmick type dudes. I'm not into like McGregor. No doubt, some of that is his personality, but it's all like fake. If you really are like crazy, or you really do like talking shit, and that's like your personality, like you could go back. A lot of these dudes are trying to take the blueprint from Muhammad Ali, who took his blueprint from Jack Johnson back in the early 1900s.
That's fair.
But you got to understand that like Jack Johnson really was that guy,
and Ali was not the guy. Ali was going to run his mouth out of the ring.
Yes, and Ali, they said like he was talking shit before he was Ali. When he was Cassius Clay, he was still, that's the way he was. But now you got guys, and you got to give them credit to a certain extent because that it gets their name out there, they make money, this, that, and the other. I'm just not a fan of a lot of fake stuff if it isn't really you. Like you look at like the Diaz brothers, a lot of them latched on those guys, but they're, at least Nick, I think Nate's a little bit more fake, but Nick, that he really is that guy. Like he really will fight you in the street or whatever. What he really is, he's like mildly autistic, I think. Like he's very socially awkward. Yeah, he really is that guy. Like that really is him.
I think Nate has eaten way too many punches.
Making CT noises.
I think if anybody, you could say he's been punched so much that he can't like even talk anymore.
Yeah, he's only 38.
But Nick is one of the GOATs that never really got to prove what they were in the UFC as much. But in other organizations, Nick Diaz was the guy.
Oh, yeah. He was definitely like a fighter's fighter. I like fighters.
I agree.
I feel like the Diaz brothers are like relatively like complete fighters because they got the stand up, they got the ground game.
Nick's better than Nate, in my opinion.
Here's the thing,
100%.
All around, yes, but Nate. The reason why people like Nate is because Nate is a guy that can take punishment just over and over. But as the fights go on, if he can get past the first couple rounds without being submitted, because Nate's only been, you can say what you want about him, he's only been truly knocked out one time in his whole career. And as much punishment as he's taken, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys, once he gets to later rounds, it's like he's got the fountain of youth or something. He's like ready to go and he's tired out.
Well, it's the same way I tell young lion when we're training, I'm just like, don't go out there with sparring's different, it's practicing, but like if you're boxing someone, don't go out there and throw 100% all the time. You take a little off. Like sometimes you're throwing 50% jab, sometimes it's 75%. Everything I said because the whole, then when you see that opening, you download what this guy's doing, then you throw that 100%. If you go 100% all the time, you're going to burn yourself up and you're going to be done. Well, there's a way you got to do that, and that's the way that when the Diaz brothers go out there and fight, they're popping those little jabs and all this, and their little pity pat stuff, but that wears the dude out, and they're not getting tired because it's just pity pat. They're just pity pat.
They train with Gracie. Gracie teaches them the crazy submission moves,
right.
And that's the thing. I mean, how did Nate get Conor? He caught him. He caught him.
Right.
And I think
after he wore him out.
Yeah.
He wore him out.
And you brought up Ali, the rope-a-dope strategy.
Yeah.
You literally let them tire themselves out, and then you just come in the later rounds and just whoop. My thing with Conor, because we're going back to what you said, My issue with Conor isn't so much the stuff in the octagon. Because I'm sorry, some of the stuff that dude said has been gold. Like, when he was like, I apologize for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that's entertaining.
Yeah.
But it's the out of the ring stuff that I'm not a fan of. Like, the Khabib situation, the multiple assault allegations on women. Like, I don't get down with that.
Him punching an old man because he didn't like his whiskey.
Exactly.
That old man didn't give 2 fucks. But let's get back on track. Anyway, the reason why I don't like Sean.
This is why we got off track, because he brought up.
But the reason why I don't like Sean that well is I feel like okay. So we got this white dude. He's got an afro. He's going to dye it all these silly colors. He's going to get a bunch of terrible tattoos. Talk about gaming. I'm a gamer too, and I love weed. And it's like, so he's hitting on all these things that, of course, these guys are going to love, because that's
gaming.
That's the generation that's going to be into all that. And a guy that's 50, like me, like, I don't care about gaming or the weed or your atrocious tattoos. I definitely don't care about your afro with the rainbows and all that. I'm not into it. I'm not digging it. So, like, for me, it's really hard for me to get into his whole thing. If you want to call it a gimmick or whatever it is, I'm sure he would say, no, this is just me or whatever. I don't know. Maybe it is, but I'm not super digging it. As far as his actual fighting, though, I like the way he fights. He's long, he's lanky, and he's in, for his weight class, which is 135 pounds, he's 5'11", which is super tall for that weight class. Yeah. And he's got the reach, and so he's definitely like streamlined the way he fights to his stand up. And evidently, from looking at this fight, Aljo just seems so off in this to me, which you could say that maybe he was off, or maybe O'Malley made him off. But like, he's definitely working on his stand up. You could actually tell that with the Jan fight. As far as being his takedown defense, I mean, it's hard to get him down, and if he gets to where you can't take him down, that's going to be like Chuck Liddell of old. With Chuck Liddell, you couldn't take him down, and so he just you had to stand with him, and he just whoop your ass.
Yep.
So that's kind of the way I see him. I mean, he's an alright dude. I don't hate the dude or anything like that.
Just not a personal fan.
Yeah, just not a big fan. His fighting style is not bad though, and I do hope he whoops Cheeto. And then
that dude does not shut up either.
Yeah, I know, Cheeto. The other thing I want, I think his shit talking, I think is slightly better than because it's not so over the top. His is like a little under the radar the way he does.
Sean or Cheeto?
No, Sean O'Malley. The way he does his, like when he was talking about Cheeto and he was talking about like, oh, I really gotta go fight this guy again. I mean, like, he's so boring. He's like the way he's not over the top the way Conor is when Conor's doing his little acting shit.
Or where he's just going so out of pocket. Sean talks crap, but he's talking crap about the actual fight, or like if somebody's popping off at the mouth about him personally, then he'll take it personal. But Sean doesn't just go personal for no reason, which I respect that, like you said.
Yeah.
So. I've said all I needed to say.
I think I have too. Young Lion, you've been
I'm great.
Quietest.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I said everything I wanted to say about the whole thing. Is that they ended it good, and I think he's a great fighter.
I just think that Aljo, the reason why Aljo lost this fight, straight up, is because Sean prepared for his takedowns, and he was doing the side-to-side movements, and you were talking about his reach, so he just stayed right out of the shooting place. And what Aljo was trying to do even here was he was trying to expose Sean a little bit to get a leg. So he was trying to throw a couple punches to get in.
See, when I watched the post presser, I think it was pretty telling what both guys said. And where O'Malley said that like he had injured himself, so he knew he couldn't wrestle. So he had to stay away from him and stay off the fence, which he's going to have, whether he was injured or not, he wasn't going to out-wrestle Aljo. No. So he had to do that regardless. So his whole thing was, and I get trapped up there, keep, lateral movement, keep moving around. And he was like saying that like it's going to be boring. He actually said it in the post-fight presser, like it's going to be boring until it's not. And then you had Aljo literally say how he literally fell right into like his whole game plan, which was like he was out there that first round, he couldn't get anything off, couldn't get anything going, couldn't get the takedown, and he wanted to press him because he felt like it was being like a boring fight, and he wanted to get in there and do some damage. So he like overstepped his, as I say, he got over his skis, you know what I mean? So so he gets out there now, he's like, well, I'm just gonna go act this guy. Well, when you're 5'7" with your 60-something inch reach going against a 5'11" dude that's got, I don't know, what, 72 inch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you need to be careful about when you want to engage with that guy. You know what I'm saying? And Aljo found out the hard way. You know what I mean? When he tried to press the action.
Yeah.
Now, if Aljo would have stayed with his just, if it's boring, it's boring. But I'm gonna keep what I'm doing, and we're gonna see how this plays out.
Played outside of your game plan.
Yeah, it could have been a totally different fight, but like he wanted to press the action.
I feel like that's like the thing about Khabib, that even if the fight was boring, he was still going to keep it boring because
even guys like Gaethje. Gaethje is one of those guys that tends to get people out of their game, and that's why Khabib was actually able to beat Gaethje at what Gaethje usually does well. I always think about Ronda. You know, when Ronda was at her peak, she was great at the takedowns, but she was not a great striker.
Yeah.
And the first time she actually went against a striker and wasn't able to get consistent takedowns, Holly Holm exposed her.
Oh,
yeah.
And then she started taking, Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes got her too. Like, that's one of the things is Pops told it perfectly there, because you have a game plan. Sean O'Malley's a striker. Aljamain's a wrestler. Mm-hmm. If you get taken out of your game plan, you've got to be able to change. And if you're not able to do that, this is what happens.
Yep. Which is you have to give Sean O'Malley all the credit in the world, because he's the challenger. The other guy's the champion. If anything, you have to take the belt from the champion.
Yep.
The champion, Aljo's the one that should have stayed to his game plan. He's just, okay, well, you're going to do this. We're going to do this for a couple rounds.
I'm the champ.
But I'm going to eventually catch you,
Yep.
pick you up, dump you on your head, and we're going to see how this goes. But instead, he's like, well, I got to press the action. I got to press the action. Mm-hmm. He paid for it. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Young Lion, anything? You good?
No, I'm great.
Get it.